a chance to look at the previous minutes?
Yes, sir.
My motion?
I didn't see anything incorrect, so I'll make a motion to approve the previous minutes.
I'll second.
A motion is second. Adam,
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And
all ayes and nays, passes. You get a chance to look at the budget review and the financial statements.
The only real question I had is technology cameras, do we just not have a budget line for that? That's why it was a zero, but we have.
Correct.
Okay. I think that was the only thing that jumped out at me. Just noticed that that was zero.
There is another line item, we've not spent anything on it this last 2 months. That's just July and August.
Well, right, but did we have a line item period for that, like set the budget, or was just we had to go over budget on that line item because we didn't plan ahead for? And Susan, since it looks like we're gonna talk about later on, patrol units, this, would that come out of this vehicle replacement fund? And is that, roughly $2,400, is that, we put that in?
416.66 a month.
Yeah, that's great. Is that, what we put over there every month, just with the expectation that this is gonna go? Aye.
Aye.
All ayes, no nays, motion passes. Presentation by citizens pursuant to the Texas Government Code, section 55.007. Members of the public may speak on an agenda item during the public communication section of the meeting or at the time the agenda item is called for discussion by the mayor. Speakers shall be given 3 minutes to speak. The council will not comment on items on the agenda. However, the council may refer the item to the city staff for research, resolution, or referral of the matter to the council as future agenda item. Everybody speak.
My only question is, on the detention pond, are we considering fencing for liability for the city? Could it be a liability if there's not a fence put around the pond?
Since this is on the agenda, I think I can speak on this, right? I asked the engineer that when we were looking at the plans, because I was also concerned, and he said the grade is not gonna be such that it's like a fall hazard, or like roll. So even if when it's empty,
But what about kids? You know, kids don't have a brain. What about if they decide they wanna go swimming in it or something like that and there's an accident?
yeah, I mean,
You know, I think it would be something to look into at least.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm not opposed, I was a little worried about it, I was worried about it from a fall point of view, you know, I wasn't thinking about kids going swimming in it, because, I mean, there's so many bodies of water, you know. I
Yeah, but
think-
that's a new one. That's gonna
That's
be
true.
more fun.
It's true, so, I mean, we could,
The contractor's sitting right there.
Yeah, I had brought that up too because we've lived there for 12, 13 years. The kids they've always cut behind our yard and they would go through the 2 vacant lots next to us, like always. We even had kids messing with stuff back
well,
there.
that's number one on the new business, so when we get there, I'll ask him.
My concern as well there is, one of the new families that moved in there does have really small children, and, I believe they have special needs. So,
Yeah, let's ask him about it when we get to number one, yeah.
great.
Anybody else?
I'll reserve until we talk about police cars.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right, move on to new business.
There's many events coming up too, you know, this month and next month. I don't know all of them. Tomorrow night is night out. you
Yeah,
know,
and I think we're gonna have
the
the band
circus.
come play- Yeah.
You know, so we would like to see you guys attend and, support the city. Bring your kids, they'll like it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna bring you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Dostin. I'm the contractor putting in the detention pond, whatever you want to call it. And I'm here to update and answer questions. So, as far as the fence, I don't disagree, probably not a bad idea, but that pond's not designed to actually retain water indefinitely. It's designed to slow it down so it doesn't flood houses or cause erosion.
But as a mother and, my daughter's grown now, but a small child, you know, they can drown in this much water.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't, hurt real fast, you know, those kids are gonna be invited to go into the pond, you know, to wade in the water or whatever, get stuck in the mud, you know. So I'm just thinking about it as a liability, you know, for the city.
Yes, ma'am, forgive me, I'm not privy to that data as to how quickly it will drain. I play in the sandbox.
Oh, you
so I'm
don't do
not-
a perk test on it?
No, I don't know the rate that it will drain if it's completely full. It has 2 12-inch pipes in it, and they can drain slower, with 2 gate valves that will be put on it. And so that's up to y'all's discretion how quickly you want it to drain, whether you want it left wide open or choked down and slowed down, so.
Okay, so the pipes, would they be, and entrapment hazard that's different from a normal pond? Meaning, like, could you get sucked into this thing?
That thing's full, from my personal experience, yes, if they're completely open and someone is completely full and someone swims down there, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
Personal experience was, there was a 6-inch suction line, put into our public pool back home, and I got stuck in the bottom.
So it's better safe than sorry.
Right, so, yeah, and they've changed the way that, like, the water returns work in swimming pools because that was happening to people,
Yes.
right? So, so I guess my question is that is something that could happen if you, when this thing was full and draining at full capacity, or draining at full flow, that the grate is small enough where you could become basically pushed to it or sucked to it?
So, as it's designed, there's no grate on it at the moment. There's only valves at the end of it, gate valves, the T-handle valves. So, on the inlet, I think that's where they're, yeah, the inlet side, there's just a 12-inch gap.
Okay. And is this how all of them are designed?
So this is the first one I've done to this design.
Okay.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Excuse me, could you talk a little louder?
Yes, ma'am.
There's old people like I am that I can't hear.
I apologize, I sure will.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we should look into how much it would cost, all right? On that.
Just to fence the whole thing off, as
Well,
far as,
well, as one option, and if there's a way just to put an additional barrier, because the further you get from this inlet, the less pressure there's gonna be, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you wouldn't have to make a very big cage around it before it wouldn't be any significant difference.
So
between
what I am privy to is we use that same size pipe, if not larger, on siphons, when we build earthen dams.
Mhm.
And, usually what's engineered to keep the fish and wildlife from getting sucked into it or stuck on it is a 2x2 metal stainless steel,
Like cage.
cage in front of it.
So that's not part of the current design?
No, but,
All right, Marsh.
to that, we intended on pouring concrete in the front, and it could be easily, put into the concrete. If not the end of next week, the following week, we were gonna do that, so it could be easily remedied.
If we have the grate on it though, and and we go and start draining it, if somebody fell in there or got in there, the suction though could still pull them to the grate where they could potentially drown.
Like you said, the further you are away from it, the
Because then
less
it can
force
go
there is.
around you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because,
It's kinda like PSI on your tires on the ground. The more surface area there is, the less force there's gonna be
Okay,
holding to it.
gotcha.
I have a
Okay.
question.
Okay.
How long is the water gonna be allowed to stand or sit in there? And who's in charge of the draining and determining how quick it drains?
So as far as I know, it'd be the city, and how long it's in there, like I said, I really don't know.
Cause we're concerned about mosquitoes.
Right. It is designed to drain to its entirety and not retain any water.
Okay,
So again, the valves, how far you open the valves, and what y'all's discernment is on that is depending on how long the water stays.
And really, that's just gonna be, Mr. Goodson, is that gonna be something that your guys handle?
probably more something I handle.
You handle?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. And a lot of that's gonna be, as far as determining that, is really the houses downstream that we're sending.
Well, that's what I was about to ask,
So,
is that we're gonna have to make sure we're not flooding those houses?
Yeah.
And if we're not, then we get it open and try to get it drained faster.
so
Okay.
during some of our first good heavy rains, we'll go out there, I'm sure Corey will lead us out there too. We'll kind of play with them a little bit, open them, watch what it does, and just slowly adjust them until they fit our needs. And then once they're set, in theory, shouldn't really have to mess with them anymore, you know, they're kind of
Yeah, unless we get a real, like, serious downpour.
Yeah, I mean, it
then
would
we
be
might have to
something
reassess.
crazy, you know, a lot more. I mean, that thing, I forget how many millions of gallons, it's a ton of water.
We do know that we don't have any control on the weather, or you wouldn't have 40 inches of rain over there in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, it could happen right here in Brownsboro. If it does, that little retention pond, not gonna help, you know, it's gonna flood, it's
Well,
gonna flood
but
the town.
I mean, if that happens, then the Kickapoo will be in town anyway.
Oh,
so-
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I've seen it close to the railroad tracks 2 or 3 times.
Okay, so I think it's a really good idea to at least put the grate in. It sounds like we need to do that now, but my question is, because you are about to pour that concrete, and it's gonna be more expensive if we do it later?
Not necessarily, you could hook the end to the concrete.
Okay, well, here's my concern. I don't want us to, because we don't have any idea what that's gonna cost, right? So, I would like to get a cost amount and then approve it next month. If it's right, doesn't that seem, if it's not gonna be, if we're just gonna, you know, pop it with bolts into the concrete instead of just concreting it in, that might be better anyway, because then if it gets damaged or whatever, we can cut the tops of the bolts off instead of being.
Just a thought. I'm pretty sure it's a mathematical equation that can be figured out how much water flows through a 12-inch pipe. We got two 12-inch pipes. We know what size the pond is. We can figure out how long that water is going to be in there. So then we should be able to figure out how necessary is a fence.
Well-
If it's going to flow out that night or that day,
Well, but your flow rate depends on your pressure behind it though, so it's gonna flow different depending on if there's 2 feet of water in there or if there's 12, you know what I'm saying?
And if they can let it out.
sure, but we can get an estimate. I mean, that's something that can be estimated.
Right.
We know what gravity flow is, or somebody smarter than me does, but.
Oh,
I think a no trespassing sign for sure also.
How deep is that end, the
then we could actually,
south end gonna be?
So I'm not good with parking directions.
Okay, so
How deep is it at its deepest? How about that?
Yes,
I believe it's about 9 foot deep. When it's full,
But that would be to the brim, right? Before.
to the spillway, it has an emergency spillway.
I think we need to consider putting a fence around it.
Yeah, and I brought that up
I did too.
early on, but,
Well, that's something I can definitely go ahead and get bids just to have the information. I mean, it wouldn't be nothing just to have somebody come give us some
would
bids.
you please?
Yeah,
Okay.
get bids on the fence.
But that's the safety of the kids traveling through that area, and because of the type of detention pond it is, that's a pretty big detention pond.
Yeah, and
And
deep.
we need to look at the safety of our kids in in
Yeah.
our city, and we need to fence that off.
yeah.
I wouldn't leave a 4-foot swimming pool unfenced. So why would you leave a 9-foot, 2-acre pond?
No, I get that, but there's ponds all over the place that are fenced. That's
Yeah,
my
but this
point.
is in the city limits where kids walk. This isn't out in the country.
Well, no, I'm talking, just in my neighborhood, there's 2 ponds that are.
Yeah, but this
But
is
you live in the
different than the
country.
ponds
No, I
you're
live in
talking
the
about
city.
your
I can't be on
house.
city council if I live in the country. I live in the city. Yeah, yeah.
There's a creek right behind City Park.
Right, so my point is, we can't fence off every body of water, but this doesn't sound like it's exactly every body of water. So I agree with you that we should at least look at what it's gonna cost. And are the no trespassing signs already,
Would be nothing to
Plans?
put some of those up.
okay, because at least then it's really easy for, if somebody says there's kids playing around in it, you know, they've been notified that they shouldn't be there, cause.
Yeah, we'll go out there and get some no trespass signs and kind of set up multiple ones down different stretches, that way they can be seen.
And I think
And,
the fencing needs to be higher than like 4 foot or 6 foot, you know.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll look, I mean, like I said, as far as getting bids and everything, I'll have them bid it out like a security fence or something like that, so just a regular,
And tell them we're
something
poor.
over 4 foot, so. But yeah, once you call all the local fence companies, we've had them bid fences before, so.
And could we get a cost on what it would be, labor and materials to put
Absolutely.
the grate?
I was trying to find that last estimate I got, but I'll get my email.
Okay.
Perfect. Is the bottom of the detention pond, will it be partially ground or dirt? Or is it all gonna be cemented? What is the,
Oh, no, it's all gonna be dirty right now.
okay,
Because that's another thing we're hoping too, which we did end up hitting a little bit of clay. I know at first it was nothing but sand, and we were thinking, man, a lot of this may
It'll
just
drain out.
filter and go. And that's what we're hoping a lot of that does, is it comes in, there is still some sandy places, we're wanting majority of it just to sink and go away. I mean, you know, it's less.
Well, or, yeah, go to the aquifer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, just kind of go through the stuff, but, we'll get fence bids, and then, like I said, no trespassing signs for sure, that'll be something we can start pretty easy.
Okay, so it's designed to completely drain, but that doesn't mean there's not necessarily gonna be some pooling, because the people that live right around it, understandably so, are worried about mosquitoes. So, I mean, the grading is such that there really should be no standing water once it's rained? Okay.
Correct. If I do my job right, it's not gonna have any problems.
What, long-term, maintenance-wise, with it being ground, like, is there the possibility that it could, that the design could degrade basically, or, you know, I mean?
Talking to Corey, as far as what I got the long-term stuff of it, is just keeping it kind of mowed and all that's kind of the main thing. I mean, it's just, it'd be like any other pond, you know, other than it is draining out.
Yeah.
So when it is dry, nice weather, we can actually get tractors on there, just run them. That's why the way they're built, it's built for us to be able to get on there and mow it and knock it down. So.
Okay, good. I just don't want us to spend all this money and then.
And then it starts, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, yes.
Well, I haven't seen you guys start on where the water is going to come in, like right there off of Browning, that little inlet. What is that supposed to look like there?
So it's just gonna be a big wide channel, and then up there in the bar ditch, there's gonna be some rocks, with some fabric underneath them to keep them from washing out. It's called Marafi fabric, that's what it's designed for. And then it's all gonna get seeded. There's over almost 3.5 acres of straw erosion matting that we're gonna put down and put seed underneath it, so the grass will come back sooner than later.
So there's just a rock channel that's gonna be there, and the water's just supposed to go in it and then go into the.
Well, there's like a rock abutment or bank to stop the water.
Okay.
Turn it, then it
Okay.
goes down the channel. It's a big, wide, flat channel, so it mitigates erosion. And then when it goes down into the pond, there's a bunch of rocks on that slope as well with that.
And I want to apologize to you real quick, Amber. I wasn't trying to be cheeky when I said I lived in the city.
Oh, no, you're
Okay,
fine.
I just want to make sure, sometimes my tongue gets better on me, so.
It was, but it's okay, I missed it.
I'm for me?
Not,
Oh, okay.
no, in
Okay.
general.
Okay. I'm
But it's
sorry.
fine. No, you're good, you're good.
On the, where it drains to, when, say we get a whole lot of rain, Jacob has to go down there and open the thing, where, I just have a lot of citizens, I want to clarify for myself so I can explain to them, asking, where is it gonna come out?
So, to my knowledge, as it's designed, it's gonna sheet flow out the back, and where it goes from there is Mother Nature, the lowest point, path of least resistance for the water.
One house east of the intersection of Sailors and England.
Yeah, you know where Doc's old house is? It's gonna be out right there in that empty pasture, flow down, hit, and finish
So-
on down.
So it shouldn't affect any of the, for instance, like on Moss, it shouldn't be like a monsoon coming down Moss, and it shouldn't be a monsoon for like down there for Pamela Oaks
No.
and Oklahoma.
And that's kind of like talking with Corey and looking at it, that's kind of why they set up the way it is. If anything, like I even know like Doc's property right now, the whole property, it had, you know, talk with Doc and everything, it had some buildup right there, and people
Yeah.
said that, you know, it's always built up. A lot of that water has already been coming across that field. There's
Right.
a ton of water already comes down, and that's where it hits that natural drainage. I know, beside the old mayor that used to be there, beside Terry Mills' house, you know,
Yeah.
right there, there's a channel there, always stays flooded. I'm hoping we'll be able to slow this stuff down with these gates, and then also, like I said, the way it's kind of built now, some natural drainage. If anything, hopefully they're gonna get less water. I mean, that's
Well, I
kind of
was
the game
thinking that
plan.
the
yeah.
other day, and I
Because
thought
we're gonna
that-
be able to slow it down so much that they should be actually getting less water. But if there is a little bit of an issue and we don't like it, we can always extend it. That's something we've talked about and all that. And possibly do is extend them piping out some more.
Okay,
And like I said, let it hit the road and go out. Because
right,
it's already all headed to the same destination right now. It's going to the exact same part, lowest place down here. We're just kind of changing it and trying to pace it how quick it goes there.
perfect, okay. And I think that would actually help more than just that corner that's
Yeah.
flooded, you know, I think that will help all those
Well, that's what we're
houses.
hoping, and like I said, I mean, just looking at the numbers, it will, from what the numbers are saying, what he come up with, I mean, it's gonna help a lot of areas as far as, like I said, all that water now actually has a place to go. Before, you gotta think about it, I forget how many millions of gallons it is, but before, if you had that kind of rain, it just went. Well,
Yes.
now, we're holding it for a little bit, and then we're sending it out just a little at a time, so,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way it can't help out some, you know, now we actually have a place to store millions of gallons, which is a pretty heavy rain when you start hitting that number right there.
Perfect.
What stops it from getting clogged with mud? Just
What is it?
Just what stops it from just getting super clogged up?
Well, the erosion control effects that we put in,
All right.
it's gonna help mitigate the sand erosion and washing and silting.
Okay.
Not to say it's not gonna ever happen, but
Right.
But we got shovels if that happened.
Yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, if it ever does start silting, as we start noticing it, we'll, you get like that, I forget the name of them. They're out of, Arlington, there's one out of Tyler. Big, huge hydrovac trucks at most, they set in their suction, run their lines, and they'll just flow it to it, you know.
Kind of like a snake.
Yeah, that's what, it's just a big jetter is what it is, I mean, but these guys are on huge stuff, I mean, these are big trucks, and they can also suck it as you're running, so if it gets to be something more than we can take, you
Yeah.
run that, but I don't see that being really a issue regularly, I mean, it's, every couple of years, we may wanna have them clean or
Right.
something.
Well, we have to do that anyway with, you know, the ditches and stuff that we have now, so. Well, not that exactly, but we have to
Right.
clean them out, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, if that ever does come an issue, we definitely have a means of solving it, so.
well, I
What's our
think-
timeline on getting Browning, where the water's coming off Browning and into the detention pond?
we should start the grading, the final grading on it this week and get the rocks put in, probably end of next week and get that finalized. Moving forward after that, we'll get the concrete poured around the header walls of the pipe. At the same time, start placing the topsoil back inside the channel, working our way out as we finish the pond. And as soon as it's topsoil, it'll get seeded, that 3 acres of straw mat.
So November?
Oh, no, so the contract was 120 working days, today is 65, not including the bad weather days. So we should be knocking 90 working days, so within 30 days.
Oh, the large wood frame up by the road that looks like it's supposed to hold signs, what is that for?
So that was for our SWIP stuff. I was under the impression we needed one, but then the SWIP company that we hired provided one. So it was just a wasted effort on our part.
Okay, because we've had people ask, so I just wanted to know.
Yeah, the SWIP board is actually over there by the
Property line?
corner opposite of that, right next to those 2 telephone poles.
Yeah. Okay.
So the good news also is it's not gonna look like an eyesore, it's gonna look like a pretty, once you get done, it's gonna be a pretty area again.
It should just be mostly grass.
We've also moved some dirt up to the front right there and kind of fix that. And I know at one time we talked about putting a city hall out there. You know, they wanted to move it for years, but 31 real estate, you know, have businesses. So while they're out there working, kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. They went ahead and started kind of grading that. So if we do get ready, we'll have to bring in all that dirt out for a pad now. The pad's pretty much already there.
Awesome.
So future stuff we can kind of move forward on if we need to.
Anybody have any other questions? Tony, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir,
all.
thank you so much.
Item 2, discuss, consider, and possibly approve amendment to ordinance chapter 3, animal control to include feeding of animals prohibited. Article 3.01.006, feeding of animals prohibited. Discuss. Better stop there. everybody's familiar with the situation up on Lone Street. We've tried talking to the state, talking to, I don't know how many people, and it seems like they're better protected being an animal than there is being a human. So, just as an item that we need to discuss, we're thinking about making putting an amendment. But you should have it in your deal, in your packet.
What's the fine gonna be on here?
Mine's ordinance is starting at $100.
Each offense?
An ordinance of the City of Brownsboro, Texas Amendment, Chapter 3, Animal Control to include feeding of animals prohibited. Now be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Brownsboro, Texas. Article 3.01.006, feeding of animals prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any person to feed wild animals, stray animals, or feral community cats regardless of age, sex, or temperament. It shall also be unlawful for any person to place food of any kind with the intent to feed wild animals, stray animals, or feral community cats to leave, store, or maintain food of any kind in a manner or an area accessible to wild animals, stray animals, or feral cat community cats. Y'all, everybody should have one of these. We all, I don't know if there's any other way to stop the growth of that. We quit feeding them, they'll go away.
Charlotte and I, from Peaceful Paws, and I have talked about it, and that's how she feels as well, that if the food source goes away, they're gonna go hunt. You know,
Then it doesn't make sense to be packed in like that, because you're gonna spread out some,
right. Also, you know, we doled out all that money to that one, I forget what rescue it was. And I know that was supposedly for what they'd already done, but I feel like it's worse. I drove up there the other day and I feel like it's gotten worse up there, so.
Can I ask a question? How do you enforce that?
They got food sitting out up there, they get a fine.
That's not for feral cats, that's for my cats.
But if you got 30 cats out there eating,
But it's for my cats.
but
Exactly.
it says leave, store, or maintain food of any kind in a manner or area accessible to wild animals, so.
in that case, they have to be on a
Each
leash.
cat inside.
In that case, if they're your animal, they have to be on a leash.
I think
Not-
he's
not
saying
on your
people
private
could
property.
just say it's their
Right.
cat, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But who's the control officer that's gonna enforce the policy of the,
Right.
It's not enforceable anyway. I mean, you can't,
Exactly.
you don't require licenses or registrations for cats. You can't tell them which cat's theirs and which isn't. So you're putting in place, my thought is you are putting in a regulation that you can't enforce.
Maybe it's more of a deterrent.
Well, and right now, they
It's
just
a
say
waste
they're
of
not.
the city's court time
Right,
though,
so
because
any
they're not gonna be able to
damage that's
prove
done,
it.
they just claim they don't own the cats, right? So, but now with this in place, you said, well, you can't feed wild cats. So if they go, well, they're our cats, well, now you're responsible for whatever damage they could be doing to other people's property if you claim the cats, right? So I think it's this way, like, you either have to put the food, if you put the food out, you're saying, well, they're my cats, that's why I'm feeding them. Well, now you're taking ownership of the cats, so you're also taking ownership of any problems they cause. So I think that's what it is. You can't, that way you can't have it both ways. It's either they're your cats and you're gonna be responsible for them, or they're feral cats, so don't feed them.
I think there was some lady that was feeding all of these feral cats.
Maybe on life.
On the line.
His wife.
That,
That'd be my wife,
your wife?
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're gonna keep feeding them.
And you're gonna keep feeding them?
Yes.
Even though there's a problem?
Well, what do you think's gonna happen with all these cats if you quit feeding them? They're going to everybody else's house, they're gonna keep having kittens.
Well, are you taking them and having them spayed?
When we can. We've had 45 ourselves, which was over 10 grand. I mean, we've done all we can do.
I mean, my rescue and all about the fixings, we've done over 60.
You haven't fixed 60.
No, over this area. I mean, so from your place in particular, I think it was like 13.
Yeah.
They're gonna do another one in, what, 2 weeks from now?
Roughly, yeah.
And we got 20 spots open, so, I mean, they gotta be fixed before you do anything, or you're just putting the problem everywhere else.
Because with this, what you're bringing to our attention, if you drive up and down Ingram, the lady has all her dishes out there, whether they're water or food. So is somebody gonna approach her and tell her she can't do that in her driveway? Because it's drawing not only her cats, but it's drawing other cats from the neighborhood to feed, because she puts them out there before she goes to work. I mean, you can see them, they're in her driveway.
So the man just stated they have no intentions of stopping feeding the cats. What are you gonna do about that? It's an ordinance violation.
Well,
So you're just gonna keep ticketing and ticketing and ticketing and ticketing until what point?
You could have an ordinance that you're only allowed 2
Why has it
cats
just
or
now
2
been a
dogs or
problem?
whatever
Oh,
in
it's
the
been a
city
problem for
limits.
years.
You know, I don't know how many cats people
What have they
like.
done back there?
I would have one.
Right, but then you can just claim they're not yours. So that's the whole point is, I mean, because we discussed about putting a limit on number of animals, which, you know, I like that even less because, I mean, I try to be very much live and let live. So, I mean, if you can maintain, like if you've got a couple of acres and you want a bunch of animals that stay on your property, don't bother anybody, great,
But
you know?
a couple acres, is it gonna be in the city limits? Is it?
Oh, sure. I mean, out in Sleepy Hollow where I live, there's people with 3 acres, 4 acres. Oh yeah, there's some people with 5, 6. I mean, you know, so, just not right here in the middle
Well,
of town.
maybe you stipulate that area and then the number of animals, you know, because if they have 3, 5 acres, you know, they're gonna have horses and dogs and chickens and, you know, that kind of stuff. So,
Sure, but that's even harder to enforce. And
yeah, maybe.
really, the point is, I mean, I don't think we have the manpower to go out checking this, so it's gonna be like if other citizens are complaining, just like with noise ordinances, okay? We have noise ordinances and, I mean, people play their stuff too loud all the time, but if nobody's complaining about it, then, you know, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if this is the right answer, you know, but I don't know what the right answer is. So, you know, trying to weigh, you know, their choice to try to take care of the cats versus their neighbors that are, you know, having to deal with the number of cats. I mean, this is one of those things that I don't know what the answer is.
It's a place to start.
Well, that's my thing. It's like, so, I mean, there are a bunch of cats in there, so,
Whatever way you go, you're gonna violate, make somebody mad. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
well, yeah.
Well, in
for
this
sure.
situation, there were people that were actually getting sick. When you're
Yeah,
talking
their
about
children are
somebody's
sick.
health, a child, that's the most precious thing there is.
Yeah,
So,
weigh that.
This, I mean, this isn't forever and always, right? If we find out this is not working, we can rescind the ordinance, right? I mean, we don't have to look at this as like, this is gonna be on the books forever. I mean, there's a function for us to get rid of it if it's not working, right?
Well, you can have all the ordinances that you want in the city. But guess what, if the people aren't going to, follow them, I mean, there's people that are not even following the ordinances in the city park, they're letting their dogs roam like it's like a dog park, okay? So, how you gonna enforce that ordinance with people with cats not feeding them? You don't have anybody on your city council that can drive around and drive through the neighborhoods. So how you gonna enforce the ordinance you want to bring to bring forward.
It's gonna be real hard, real hard.
Like I say, I don't know if this is the answer, but I don't have a better
I don't need.
solution.
It's
So
it's a nightmare, I'm telling you. It's a nightmare.
As soon as the discussion is over with, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
Okay.
And then y'all can second it or not.
I think
I
we
think
should
it's
give
just
it.
a step we need to take.
I think we should give
The
it.
steps we've taken in the past haven't worked,
Right.
and so we need to start with something that might work. And sometimes the financial responsibility encourages people to take a choice.
And what did you say the fine would be per
$100.
100?
That's gonna add up real quick if you're refusing to abide.
I don't have it.
Motion.
I make a motion to amend the ordinance for the feeding of the animals.
Are you saying $100 per animal or like $100 per occurrence?
Occurrence.
Per day.
If either you, then everyone.
I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Discuss, consider, and possibly approve any bids, 2 new patrol units for the police department. Probably Brian, you had something to put in on this?
Yeah, I've spoken before to the past experience and skill set that I have, that I've done this for a living before. And Susan let me know that we are in fact, as a city, enrolled in the Texas Smart Buy program, the Texas administered contracts. So you don't need to go get sealed bids for your patrol vehicles from dealers, because you will never get your best deal there. The state of Texas is the singular largest buyer of police vehicles on the planet. So we get to use their pricing. It's already pre-bid. So I know how to use that. I actually wrote most of the specs on that contract. So with your permission, I'll help Chief and I'll help Susan walk through that process. We'll find out what's available in vehicles on the ground, or we'll look at ordering. You're at the wrong end of the season for ordering right now because order banks are closed. So you're either gonna order for a 2025 model, or you're gonna be able to get whatever they've got left, which will probably be Fords at this point. Nobody's got Tahoes and nobody knows when they're gonna get Tahoes. But the others are available with our choice of equipment.
When you available?
I already been looking at it. I gotta go out and find out what he wants on it. We've got a checklist to go down and figure out the equipment that the chief wants. And I've already reached out to my contacts. A couple of them have some vehicles available. We just gotta see what meets our need.
Okay, so since this says approve getting bids for 2 new patrol units, I say we still do that, but we count as one of the bids, this Texas Smart Buy, so that we can go ahead and approve this and get it rolling without having to put it back on the agenda with different wording. We go ahead and get some sealed bids, and then we can compare them to this, and I'm sure yours is gonna come in under.
I've never seen that contract get beat.
Right, but that way we're doing what it says we're gonna do on the agenda, right? So we're gonna approve getting bids on 2 cruisers.
I've already requested bids.
Okay, so that's in the works.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
But Mr. Reynolds said that he can make a better deal. So, but the bids are still, will still be coming in.
okay,
Hey, if somebody needs it, take it. You know?
Yeah.
so, well, yeah, the bids don't cost us anything, right? So, I mean, yeah, then I'm motion that we, it sounds like we're already in the process, but approve getting bids for 2 new patrol units
I'll second.
to include Texas Smart Buy. Aye.
Aye.
And I'm not charging you my consulting fees this time.
Appreciate that.
Discuss sidewalks and traffic pattern on Sailors and intermediate and high school, possibly take action.
So I had a buddy of mine that does concrete, meet me out there about putting a sidewalk down the side of Sailors from your house all the way to the high school, just to get a ballpark of what it would be. It'd be ADA compliant, but it was 20 grand. I think it's, to me, a no-brainer to get bids, get it done, whatever we have to do. I mean, there's kids every morning I sit there, in and out the road, on scooters, bicycles, walking. All the yards along Sailors are knee-high with stickers, kids gotta walk through. That's unacceptable.
So this would be from the edge of the high school property?
All the way to the entrance of the high school. It'd be 4 foot wide on one side.
One side.
It'd be 4 foot wide with wheelchair turnouts every 200 foot, so it's 88 wide.
What side are we talking about?
It's on the high school side, but Susan says she thinks that might be school property, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I don't think they're gonna say no, but I don't know that they
When I
can
talked
either.
to Dr. Hampton about crosswalks about a month ago, I told her I was gonna try to get sidewalks, and she was all kinds of excited, so I don't know why they wouldn't be okay with it.
My-
buses parked there.
Yeah, all the buses
Yeah.
park right there.
Well, there's
Aren't they
places
gonna
for
tear it
buses
up?
to park, besides where kids need to walk, and I don't know.
Is there enough space that they're not gonna, those heavy buses aren't gonna tear them up? You're not gonna be able to stop that.
But
In
you're
the
not-
afternoon,
On
in
the
the
weekends.
afternoon, that whole area,
There's kids walking in between
Citizens
cars and
are
buses
parking
out into the
to
flow
pick
of
up their
traffic.
kids.
Somebody's gonna get hit.
the whole stretch.
I kinda wonder how thick the concrete's gonna need to be, because every time they
Yes.
have an event at the high school,
Put up no
they
parking
use
right
that.
there.
Yeah, they're not gonna, they're still gonna. But,
Yeah, they're gonna park there.
I know this goes on across a lot more private property, but maybe the
The other,
south side.
the other side would be more ideal, but do you, I mean, is it okay to put an easement? I mean, you tell the property owners we're putting the sidewalk here, or what do you do?
See, I think that's gonna be your problem. I think you're gonna have to get easements from them, because really the easements on that side, I don't believe go. I remember we were dealing with easements when we were doing that road there, and I don't think we have much more than what's there. So if you do the other side, you just have to get permission from all the homeowners there. So that's really gonna be how much they're willing to help you. So I don't know what would be better. I mean, you have to go talk to them and say,
I mean,
easements.
I don't know, are people really gonna say no to a sidewalk in front of their house? I mean, I think that adds value if anything. Would you say no to one going in front of your house?
I would not say no.
I mean, can I get a sidewalk? I'm just.
Right, I
No,
mean,
I agree.
I think it's a value add. I don't know that this is gonna be a fight, you know.
And that is, I know we're, budget-wise, we might have to do this in cycles.
Sure.
But. when
There
I-
should be one going all the way to intermediate.
Yeah, well, and when
And,
I take my kid to school in the morning, I am stressed out about even with the 15 miles per hour, those kids that are having to walk from Browning, having to walk from Stewart's,
Well,
that
In the
is,
middle of the road.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you know, it's expensive, but I think we have to get started.
Yeah.
Even if we can't do it all this year, you know, I think we start chipping away at it. And we're gonna have to figure out what that looks like as far as, do we have to get easements? Are people gonna sign off on it? If we have holdouts, I mean, I hate eminent domain, but, I mean, if we've got just a few holdouts, we may have to do it, you know, because, I mean, I really think this is like, I drive that road every day, you know, I see it, and there's kids all over the place, so if we could funnel them to the sidewalk,
Be a lot safer.
it'd be a lot
well,
safer.
and if we could have crosswalks on sailors back there, go saying, you know, and with the school and the city, police department, when you know, put out a bulletin, when you send your kid to school, this is how they need to go,
Right,
you know, so,
yeah, and, you know, some of them will ignore us, but, I mean, most of them won't.
Right.
You know, so you're saying put a couple more crosswalks like around Thunderbird or Moss so that there's another place for them to cross to that side of the street?
yeah, but more so, down there by Stewart, all those kids that, from the baseball field and up around over to Sailors, they come up and walk all the way down Sailors, unless they cut through our property, which, whatever.
Right.
But some of those, I have a teenager too, but some of those kids, even then with the 15 miles per hour, they hit the top of that hill and they're not paying attention, and they're going fast, you know.
Well, and after we do this one, I mean, we're gonna need to talk about going up Ingram to the.
Ingram needs a sidewalk.
Ingram needs a dime.
Oh, I
They're not
know,
doing
I know.
15 miles an hour, they're doing 20, 25.
But
You
it's,
get a ticket.
it's the Autobahn, like.
I got one last week, that was
Years.
35
Yeah.
on a
Oh.
15.
You should see
I
the
think-
records that come down Ingrove going 60 miles an hour, just going down that hill.
They're flying
It's
down that
insane.
road, and I'm sitting there.
I know,
With
they
lights
don't
on.
like you sitting there.
You know, and yeah, they don't want me there. That little section
I
there,
think
they
you
don't
ought
want
to
me
have
there.
2 or 3 sit there myself.
Well,
So-
the
so
thing,
if you
people
look
don't
at it-
like that, but it is a deterrent. I have noticed that it is a deterrent down there where all those kids are with intermediate stuff.
me, sir.
Yes.
Well, and if you put side, I think a lot of the issue is too, cause I didn't even know that the school zone went down Sailors as far as it
No.
was, cause I don't leave the house that much, but if you put the little stripy lines on the
Right.
road, then more people know, hey, this is a slow area, cause you don't see
Yes.
those signs, cause trees.
Yes.
What's the pay?
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead, babe.
So I was gonna, I wrote this down in my note to ask about the easements over there. I can figure out, I can get with Corey, like I said, we just did that road, so we have some stuff on that. I just on the top of my head, so I'll get with Corey on the easements. How far again, just to make sure I'm right, are you talking about from Mr. Wise's house down, or are you talking about from the four-way down? How much easement?
It was from Mr. Wise's place,
From his place
is
down?
what I got.
So is that where we're proposing maybe to start?
It should go all the way to Ingram.
Start at Horton.
Well, then I guess, that was my question.
I just
look
had,
for
I just
easements
had him
all the
come out
time
and give me a price,
for that section.
just so I would know roundabout what it would be.
Well, I mean, I think we should have a sidewalk from the intermediate school, which is where most of the walkers are coming from,
Yeah.
or the junior high, they're coming up, that's that way.
I mean,
All the way
if it-
down to Stewart.
Right.
So, but, I mean,
Yeah.
we need to start closer to the school, because closer to the school equals more traffic, right? Because they fly off as they go.
And right
So-
there, Horton and Sailors, I mean, there's a hill there right by his house, and people just come flying over.
Well, I'll look for easements with him, I'll get with Corey, and we'll go over, see what kind of easements we have for Ingram Street right there, cause getting easements isn't, sometimes it's easy, some of them's.
Okay, I do this for a living,
On how they wanna give it to you or
literally,
not.
so let me know.
Well, and I don't think most people are gonna say no to a sidewalk for their house. I mean, you know,
I mean, there's one house at the corner of Horton and Sailors, the grass is so tall, you can't even see the fire hydrant. Yeah.
Well, why don't the city go clean it up and charge them?
Well, I was gonna go mow them, and my wife told me no, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that happens all the time in different places. The city will soon, you know, you're gonna mow it, or we're going to mow it for you and charge you.
About that corner house, catty corner from me. Is that the one in Mexico again?
That house sold, I
It's
think.
sold.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Them people haven't lived there 3 months, and they hadn't mowed the yard one time.
Well,
And I sit there every morning.
yeah, Foster stopped by there and asked them, and they said no. And he said, he even said, if you can't pay, you know, no.
So the other part on this, the traffic pattern, I talked to Chief and Susan. Right there at the intermediate and the high school, you just got cars going everywhere.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense that coming out of the high school, you can only turn right on Sailors, go towards 31. Coming out of the intermediate, you can only turn right coming towards Ingram.
Yes.
And then you eliminate cars just turning everywhere, but only during school zone hours.
well, the school actually said that last year.
They said at the beginning of the year that that's what it was gonna be,
Yeah, but it was last year, not this school year. I think it was last school year.
and nobody did it.
Well, yeah, nobody listened. I mean,
See, I didn't know that.
And, you know, I thought with the school doing
There's no
it,
signs though, or there's no indication saying right turn only, no, I mean, other than posting it on the BISD website, like you.
Yeah.
on
Well, you have to
Facebook
put up
page.
signs, paint an arrow on the road.
but
Yeah.
at the same time, they're turning off of private property, so I mean, you're not gonna be able to write tickets for left turns, are you? So, it should happen, you're right, totally, but unless we can devise a way to make it happen, and I'm sure the school would work with us on this, cause they see the same problem. But I mean, how do you make people do it? And they're like, I'm not gonna listen to you, you know?
Widen the driveway and
Well, no,
put a
they're
dividing,
Yeah.
traffic barrier in the middle of it.
Yeah, so that they're turning onto a city street, so once you come off of private property, if you're directing somebody in that street, they can only go a certain way, they have to. Is that not?
You, maybe like down there in Tyler, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done.
But like down there in Tyler, you know, like I know,
Broadway
I guess
is
on
one way.
Broadway, yeah,
Yes.
it's one way, but it's for set hours. I've noticed
Yes.
that.
Schools on that?
Yep,
So
from
you-
9 to
yeah.
4
Yeah, you may have to do something like that, is
or something.
That's what I was thinking, do
Yeah.
one way, just for
just
the
be a
school.
one way for like set hours, and then whatever hours are, you have to set them and post them on the signs.
I just think it would eliminate a lot of.
Yeah, and it's really, it's more, I think, in the afternoon, because in the mornings, people can get there,
Staggered.
like, yeah, exactly, there's like 45-ish minutes where it's not as busy, but in the afternoon, it's like all the schools release within 20 minutes of each other, or whatever, and it's just, it's a madhouse, because I'm driving a daycare van through it, you know, so.
Well, you're gonna have to get the school district involved, because it's their property. So when you get involved, the school district, on the traffic patterns, you just can't make a decision here in the city council, because the school has to be aware of what you want to do with the way the traffic's coming out of their parking lot.
They have to direct the parents which way it's gonna go.
Because if the administrator, the reason why I know that is my wife's been a principal. She had to do that at her school in Arizona. And, so you gotta get the administration involved in what you, with the problem that you're talking about.
Yeah, we were dealing with the city buses. You know, I had a school of 3,000 kids, so I had to deal with the city buses. It was on the main street in Phoenix. I mean, you have to get the school to get in here and help you guys with this. You can't own this. This is not your problem. It's the school's problem. Because I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna have an issue if a kid gets hurt. Because it has nothing to do with the city. It has everything to do with them, because it's their liability to make sure those kids get home safe.
I mean, I'll talk to Dr. Hankins, she's supposed to call me back, cause I called her about getting kids that need community service hours to maybe man crosswalk down there between the two schools, but I haven't heard back. She said she'd have to talk to the directors of the honor society and stuff.
See, in the morning, the traffic flow is pretty smooth in the morning, except for those speeders out there. But in the afternoon, there is a hassle because you have traffic and it gets jammed up in Ingram Street. And then you have the parents that are trying to park their cars in that little section there by that fence, you know, and then they have a problem getting out of there. Because they will park it east or west, you know, either way, whichever way they come in. You know,
Instead of getting in line to pick up their
Yeah.
kids, cause they park in our neighborhood and have them little kids walk
Yeah,
over
trying to
instead of
cut
getting in
corners,
line.
but
So
during
if
the
there's a
morning, you can
sidewalk
walk
there
right
where they can't park there, then there's
That was
no,
my thought.
You know, so if you get a
there's gonna help
sidewalk,
the flow of traffic.
no parking
Stop it.
signs.
They'll park on it.
Yeah.
I mean, could we ticket them?
I was about to say, I think if you're
Ticket,
blocked-
like, turn
yeah.
your sirens on and say,